Organizations spend millions of dollars on culture. We do surveys, we do retreats, we do value statements, we do perks. We put big posters on the wall to remind people of what our values are and why they matter. Sometimes organizations spend millions of dollars on culture and then wonder why engagement scores and productivity aren't going up, why nothing has really changed. Here's what I've observed after spending several decades working inside organizations. You cannot have a healthy culture with unhealthy managers. Not because managers are the problem, but because managers are the environment. The way your people experience culture is based on the manager. They are the culture your employees actually experience every single day. So if we want to change culture, we have to focus on managers, on those people in your organization who are supervising other people. I worked with an organization once that had done a ton of culture work, and they had beautiful value statements that they had posted all over their buildings. Their employees had their mission statement at the bottom of their email, and almost any employee in the building could tell you what their mission was. They had fun meals on Friday afternoons or snacks and all kinds of different things that they had set up to try to create a culture where things were positive and where everybody was moving in the same direction and had the same values. And yet they found that for some teams, this really made a big difference. And then other teams, it wasn't happening at all. They couldn't figure out what the dichotomy was. Why did this work in some places in the organization, but not in others? The reality is that the daily employee doesn't experience your culture strategy, they experience their manager. So when you are wondering and thinking that you have a culture problem, here are 4 symptoms that can help you realize that it might actually be a manager problem. Number 1 is high turnover in specific departments, not necessarily organization wide. That's a team level signal. Something is going on some teams. The second one, engagement scores that vary widely across the organization, particularly by team. Same organization, very different experience. Number 3, we've always done it this way, resistance. When you have people who are regularly saying, we've always done it this way, it's a signal that you have managers that aren't actually modeling positive change. And the last one is escalations that consistently travel upwards. So issues that on the regular don't get resolved at the managerial level. So senior leaders are constantly getting issues brought up to them that aren't being handled at the manager level. So those are 4 symptoms. Each of these is a signal that your managerial layer might be underdeveloped. It doesn't mean that those managers are bad or that they're wrong or anything. It means that they're underdeveloped, right? It doesn't mean that the culture is broken. The culture could be great, but those managers may not know how to implement that culture. A lot of times when we do cultural work, we look at the big picture and the value statements on the walls and what we want our culture to look like overall. But we don't necessarily help managers operationalize that culture and figure out what it looks like. So, the framework that I use in my work, clarity times connection equals commitment, operates at the managerial level first. Culture is built from the middle out, not the top down. We start with that manager and we help them understand clarity and connection. The reality is, your culture is an aggregate of thousands and thousands of daily manager and employee interactions, not necessarily the sum of what the leader at the top is saying on a regular basis. When managers have clarity about their role and genuine connection with their people, commitment rises at the team level. Those managers start to have a much greater commitment on their part as well as on their team member part. And that's when culture starts to actually improve on those individual teams. And that trickles up to the entire organization. We're flipping culture work on our head when we talk about this because most of the time we think of culture as being something that the leader needs to define and then filter down to everybody else. But in this case, we're flipping it and we're saying, let's do the culture work first at some of our lower levels, at our managers who are directly supervising people and help them get it. And when those people really get it and they're implementing it on a daily basis, it starts to trickle back up. You really cannot sustain culture without investing in the layer of leadership that is delivering it on a daily basis. This is also why one day workshops don't change culture. They cannot change a manager's daily practice. If you want to make a difference at the managerial level, it's going to take time and energy. If you're going to implement clarity times connection equals commitment, both clarity and connection require time and energy and trial and error to really implement at the team level. If you are an executive, if you are an HR leader, and some of this is hitting, but you're not really sure what to do about it, and you're trying to diagnose how those people are doing and what's going on, here are 3 questions to consider asking yourself and possibly asking your managers. Do our managers know what effective supervision actually looks like in our organization, considering our culture, specifically, not generally? So they might be able to say effective management is getting to know your people and helping them get their work done. But what does it look like in your organization? What are the specifics about how you want that culture to be implemented in your organization? Second question. When did we last give our managers structured development, not just feedback on performance reviews? Most of the time, we would really love for it to just work, to have people get feedback on performance reviews, maybe even a few other times during the year, and then that would be enough. But in reality, most managers need structured development, particularly those managers who have been promoted to a managerial position because they were great individual contributors. Those people in particular need structured development to help them learn the skills of management and supervision. Third question you're going to ask yourself if you're trying to diagnose what's going on with your supervisors, your managers. If I asked each manager's team whether they feel clear on priorities and genuinely led, what would they say? You want every single team in your organization to feel clear on priorities and genuinely led and connected to and with their leader. When you start to think about that, does that make you a little uncomfortable? Well, I'm not really sure that would be the case. There might be a few, there might be a lot that aren't. That is the time to go, okay, our next cultural initiative needs to really take place at the managerial level. That's where we can make the biggest difference in how things go in our organization. What does it look like when an organization gets this right? Here's a few ideas. There are consistent supervision practices across teams, regardless of department. This doesn't mean that every supervisor or every manager does it exactly the same way. People need to do this based on their strengths, their leadership style, etc. But there are some practices and ways of going about things that are based on the culture that you are creating that are consistent across the board. Also, managers surface problems early instead of hiding them. Managers see an issue, they surface it, they deal with it, they bring it to the right people rather than trying to sweep it under the rug and make it go away. And the last thing that it looks like when organizations really get this right is teams stay even when they have other options. So when your managerial level is really connected to your culture and they're doing this clarity times connection, both of those things really well, your retention numbers start to creep up. People stay even when they have other options because this is a place that they know they can be their very best selves. They know that they are going to be connected and that they're going to be honored and led and seen, known, and valued in this environment. As we conclude, I just want to remind you that manager development is not just an HR line item, it is a business strategy. Training and development is often something that we want to push off when numbers get tight. We want to say, that's probably something we can skip for now, right? It'll probably be fine. But the reality is, everything in your business works when your people are working at their best. And when your people aren't working at their best, everything in your business starts to slowly decline. The culture of your business makes a huge difference. And so, figuring this out and providing this managerial level development is a solid business strategy that'll make a huge difference. This is something I go really deep on in my work. And frankly, it's something I've been writing about because the organizations that figure this out are going to have a significant advantage in the next decade. So, if you're watching this and you're nodding, I would love to talk about what this could look like in your organization. Remember, culture does not come from the top, it comes from the middle. So invest there first.